Yeah, it's a great day for the great men and women of God. I think you had a great night. I'm coming away again today with the encouragement for your ministry because to be in ministry today is not just a joke, but for you to be in ministry, I congratulate you. And I know you will go far to happen. But there are few things that we need to note that as we are aiming to be successful in ministry, there are enemies of successful ministry. So we are going to be discussing about enemies of successful ministry. I once heard a story from a man of God that had a church, and the church crowd was increasing, but there were so many crises, so many leadership crises, pastoral crises, workers crises, financial crises, all over the place. So he took time to go and see his father in the Lord, and his father in the Lord asked him simple question: what are the leadership structures you have in your ministry? How do you get your leaders? How do you raise people? And the man of God told him that he doesn't have any structure. And so the father told him, you must have structures. Now I'm going to be reading from a scripture quickly. Luke chapter 14. Luke chapter 14. We're reading verse 28. Verse 28. Quickly. Now, for which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it? Lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see him began to mock him. Now, Jesus tried to give us a foundation that before you start your ministry, you must sit down and get structures. And without those structures, you can't get to the end. Now that brings me to our first point. One of the enemies of successful ministry is lack of structures and systems. You see, the moment you don't have structures and systems that runs your ministry, you are already programming your ministry to be unsuccessful. You see, it takes structures to have a future in a ministry. You see, without you having structures, your ministry is not having any future. So there is need for every servant of God to have structures. How do you produce your leaders? How do you produce your workers? How do you transfer your pastors? How do you raise funds? How is your funds in the church being dispensed? What are the processes of how things are happening in your ministry? You see, the moment you don't have processes, it will result to failure in ministry. Now, for you to be successful in ministry, you must have administrative structures. I wrote something here. It said, wrong structures, wrong administrations, and wrong management styles are great enemies to ministry structures. Success. Wrong structures, wrong administrative structures, wrong management styles, these are enemies to successful ministry. So for you to be successful in ministry, woman of God, man of God, you need to have structures. You see, structures, they are the enablement of any building. They enable a building to stand. So also, structures in the ministry programs the success of a ministry. Two, our second enemy that is greatly hindering successes of ministries is satisfaction in ministry. You see, the moment you grow in ministry to a point to assume that I have gotten cars, I have the crowd, I have the buildings, I have all the things it takes about a ministry, then you begin to relax. Prayer is no more there again. There is no more evangelism. There are no more crusades. There are no more follow-ups. Even your messages, you are now repeating the messages of about 10, 20 years ago. There is no more rhema coming into you again. You see, you are already programming your ministry not to be successful. Satisfaction. You see, when you are contented with average in ministry, you can't be successful in ministry. You can't. You see, you get to a point you are no more looking at the future, you are looking at the present. You are looking at your past successes. You see, the moment you are too satisfied with your past successes, you are too satisfied with your present position, you are too satisfied with your present finances, you are too satisfied with your present crowds, you are too satisfied with the present buildings that you have gotten. It has become an enemy to your ministry. These things have become a serious enemy to your ministry. So for you to be completely successful to the end of your ministry, you must put contentment completely far away from you. Don't be contented with the level of your ministry. Never. Apostle Paul, with all what he achieved, he said he presses forward. The moment you get to a point that you are no more pressing forward, it has become an enemy to your ministry. Never be satisfied. Never. Never. Because satisfaction in the ministry is an enemy. I want to round up here today to continue with this same discussion. That we have enemies of success in ministry. And these enemies, sometimes it's not just the devil, as I mentioned earlier. Lack of structures, lack of administrative structures, lack of good management styles. These are enemies. Satisfaction in ministry, they are enemies. So I want to encourage you today, as a great man or woman of God that is doing well in ministry, take it as a personal challenge that you must put up structures, and that if you are having structures before, strengthen the structures you are having. Without you having structures, you have no future in your ministry. God bless you. Remain in your call and strengthen your ministry with structures. God bless you. I will come your way again with part 2 of this series.